My cousin asked me to take care of her apartment while she travelled around Europe to improve her mental health, but at the last moment she told me I would have to pay to stay there. My cousin and I have always been like sisters or best friends. We're both in our late 20s and have kept in touch through college and adulthood. She got married about 4 years ago to a guy who at first seemed nice but always gave me bad vibes. He was controlling. He'd comment on what she wore and who she spent time with. 6 months ago, she finally left him behind closed doors. Things had gotten really bad. He controlled her finances, manipulated her emotionally, and made her life miserable. Leaving wasn't easy. She had to move back in with her parents and go through a messy divorce. They didn't share kids or major assets, but he fought over every little thing he could think of, dragging everything out longer than necessary. He even wanted to argue over a corner plant. Through all of this, I tried to be as supportive as possible, just like a friend should. I listened to her vent, helped her move, and even lent her money when she needed it. Over time, she found a one-bedroom apartment in a nice area and started rebuilding her life little by little. About 3 weeks ago, she told me she was planning a trip to Europe for what she called a mental health break. She had been saving for months and wanted to get away after the nightmare of her divorce. I thought it was a great idea. Who wouldn't want a vacation in Europe? She deserved it. She asked if I could take care of her apartment while she was away, about 2.5 weeks, mainly to water her plants and keep the place occupied since there had been some recent break-ins in her building. I told her she could count on me. Honestly, I was happy to do it. My own living situation isn't great. I rent a room in a house with 3 other people, and there's always drama about dishes, bathrooms, and noise. The idea of having an entire apartment to myself for a few weeks sounded amazing. Her place is closer to my job and even has a lovely balcony garden. It felt like a win-win, and I genuinely thought I was helping her after everything she had been through. We went over the logistics, and everything seemed normal. The day before her trip, she came to drop off the keys and some instructions, but that's when things started to go downhill. She handed me a list and then started talking about expenses and how we should split things fairly. At first, she said I should pay for utilities while staying there, around $50 for electricity and water. That rubbed me the wrong way. Then she said that since I'd essentially be getting free accommodation in a nice apartment, I should also pay part of her rent. She calculated it out. Her rent is $200 a month, so for 2.5 weeks my portion would be about $20. But she said she'd let it go because we were family and friends. I told her I thought this was supposed to be house-sitting, not subletting. House-sitting usually means you're doing someone a favor. Sometimes you even get paid. She said I should think of it as a discounted vacation rental, claiming most people in the city would pay much more for 2 weeks in her neighborhood. I tried to explain that if she wanted me to pay rent, then it wasn't house-sitting. That would just make me a tenant, and in that case, I'd rather stay in my cramped but cheap place and let her find someone else. She got defensive, calling me stingy and saying she couldn't believe I was counting pennies after everything she'd been through. She accused me of not supporting her, of not caring about her mental health, and said she thought she could count on family. I reminded her of all the ways I had already supported her, helping her move, lending her money, being there through the divorce. The worst part is, I told her, if you want to charge me, that's fine, but in that case, I should also charge you for house-sitting since I'll be there 2.5 weeks without breaks. Fair's fair, I should at least earn what I make at my job. Doing a quick mental calculation, that would be about $350. But since we're family and friends, and you just insulted me with your request, I'll only charge $400, I said. And that's me taking a risk. If one of your plants dies while you're gone, I'd never forgive myself. Needless to say, she stormed out of my place, furious. So much so that one of my roommates said, "It's probably best if she doesn't visit again." Normally that would have bothered me, but at that moment, I thought it was an excellent idea. She's been through a lot, sure, but apparently not a crash course in how not to be entitled. I'm always eager to help, but this was just ridiculous. When I told my friends about it, they all laughed and joked that I was letting her off cheap. Some even said I was wrong for wanting to charge her at all, but at least we got a good laugh out of it. They shared their own house-sitting stories, how they were given some money or even had fridges stocked with food. Meanwhile, I was supposed to pay for the privilege of taking care of her apartment. One friend joked that when she comes back, she might even charge me extra for kissing her feet. She's lost her mind. Not only did she want me to pay quite a bit, but she also expected me to do all the house chores. A pretty long list, by the way. She left for Europe a few days later, presumably after finding someone else. I felt bad about missing out on my mini-vacation, as I'd started calling it, but I wasn't going to pay that. I'd rather spend that money on a real vacation, where someone serves me and I don't have to do any work. I guess if you're from California and into new experiences, something like my cousin's offer might be in demand. But I'm just a simple East Coast girl, not used to this nonsense. So I came here knowing you all have plenty of experience with things like this, to ask one very important question. Do you think my crazy cousin will bring me a gift, or can I already consider that lost? Update 1. I posted this a few days ago and received a lot of helpful responses. People confirmed that I wasn't being unreasonable and that my cousin was definitely out of line for asking me to pay rent while house-sitting for her. Thank God. But the most important advice I got was that if I received a gift and it was edible, I shouldn't eat it. And if it wasn't edible, I still shouldn't try to eat it, and to check if it made ticking or bomb-like noises. You have no idea how much I laughed with all of you. I almost forgot that I still have to share a house with others. That's still a problem. But if I had $700 to pay my cousin, I wouldn't be living here. My cousin must still be traveling, tormenting the poor people of Europe. I apologize for her, because we all know what American tourists can be like there, but really, not all of us are like that. It's just that the sensible ones stay home because we can't afford to travel. We only send the entitled ones, the ones who feel entitled to go into debt or somehow find the money to go abroad. But yesterday I got a call from my aunt, my cousin's mother. Apparently, my cousin had told the whole family her version of what happened, and it was very different from what actually happened. According to her, she had generously offered to let me stay in her beautiful apartment for 3 weeks. Each time she tells the story, it gets longer. A couple more retellings and I'll have lived there permanently. In her story, I supposedly got angry and refused to even pay for my own food. She made it sound like she was doing me a huge favor and that I was being ungrateful and stingy. My aunt called basically to lecture me, saying she loved me like a daughter and that her other daughter, my cousin in this case, was going through a hard time. She said my cousin was heartbroken because her own cousin, me, was trying to take advantage of her, and that she couldn't travel peacefully, knowing her apartment would be left alone. I started laughing so hard because my cousin was crying long distance and tattling to her mom like she was 3 years old. When she was at the airport, did no one ask where her mommy was or why she was traveling alone? I had to explain the insane plan of her wanting to charge me $700 with a family discount. That led to another round of my friends' jokes, followed by my aunt scolding my cousin, which then led to more jokes from all of you. I started wondering if other family members had also heard my cousin's version, and whether they all thought I was some kind of heartless cheapskate. That night, I went to bed thinking about it and laughed to myself, but I had a plan to call whoever I could the next day. I decided to start with my mom to get her opinion on the situation. She had already heard some version of events, who knows from where, but since it was so strange, she just didn't say anything. I was on the phone like, "For heaven's sake, how could you not call me to tell me about this? Don't you see I'm with the Reddit people and we want to know everything?" The version that reached her made me sound like some kind of plant expert who planned to stay in that apartment to take care of the plants, but was going to charge a special fee for my gardening services. My mom thought it was ridiculous because she knows even plastic plants die under my care. Don't ask how. I just have that gift. My mom suggested that since I was so entertained by all this, Maybe I should contact other family members. It wouldn't hurt to make sure they knew my side of the story, just in case my cousin had already told them hers. Plus, since she was in another time zone, it would make it harder for her to defend herself. My mother, an old-school lady, though don't let her hear me call her that, and a Redditor at heart, basically thinks like all of you. She doesn't like Karens, and has plenty of experience putting one in her place whenever she has the misfortune of running into one. My brother, as usual, didn't know anything, but he said that since the divorce, our cousin has been getting crazier every day. He had no proof, but no doubts either. My sister said that when she house sat for a couple of friends, not only did they leave her plenty of beer, but they also brought her nice gifts afterward. One of my cousins told me something interesting. He said my cousin had actually asked him to house sit before she asked me. He turned her down because he was going on a work trip, but she had also mentioned the payment part to him. He said he first thought she meant she'd pay him to stay and take care of the place while she was gone. But now that he heard my version, he laughed so hard he had to hang up because he had an accident and needed to change his underwear. The amount of laughter my cousin has given us has been incredible, and she's not even trying. She's over there in Europe, completely unaware of all this. I think at this point I just need to see her face when she finds out what's been going on. Update 2. My cousin returned from her trip yesterday, and instead of contacting me directly in case she had heard something, she called my mom. Apparently she was crying and saying that her apartment had been vandalized while she was away, and she was convinced that somehow I was responsible for it. My mom called me immediately after talking to her because she thought maybe I had taken the joke a bit too far. I told her I had limits, and that limit was the laws of protection against Karens. But let's get to my cousin's version of what happened. According to her, she came home and found that someone had been in her apartment and messed with her things. She said all her plants were dead. That proves it wasn't me, because as far as I know, she doesn't have any artificial plants. There was food left on the counter that had gone bad and attracted insects, and someone had moved her furniture. My first thought was that maybe she had actually found someone else to house sit for her, and they had done a terrible job. I asked my mom if my cousin mentioned who had been taking care of her place, but apparently my cousin claimed that no one had stayed there. She said she ended up leaving her apartment empty while she was gone because no one agreed to do it. I don't understand how, since it was such a great offer. Anyone who passed that up is a fool. Then, my cousin started claiming that I must have somehow gotten into her apartment to mess with her stuff out of spite. In her words, OP let a homeless person in because she was jealous of my trip. She told my mom that I was the only person who had access to her keys and that I must have somehow kept a copy. She said she was thinking of calling the police and reporting a break-in. My mom told her that was a good idea, not because she didn't believe me, but because my cousin should prove that I had entered, and there's nothing better than involving the police. But my cousin kept insisting there was no other explanation for what had happened in her apartment, although she clearly had doubts about filing the report. At this point, it sounds like she's just making everything up and trying to make it my problem. When my mom told me all this, honestly, I almost needed a change of clothes myself. The idea that I or anyone else would break into someone's apartment just to kill their plants and leave food out made me laugh so hard. If that really happened, it's because the plants went 3 weeks without water and she forgot some last-minute snack before heading to the airport. You live in a city, you don't just leave food lying around. And about the furniture, maybe her ego is so big she accidentally moved it when she walked in. Use your imagination. Shortly after that, my cousin called. Everyone's advice says, don't answer calls from crazy people, but do you think I was going to miss what my cousin had to say? You've got the wrong OP if you think that. My cousin was already angry on the phone and immediately started accusing me of breaking into her apartment. She was very upset, but I responded calmly. That only made her angrier, but it also made it hard for me to keep my composure because I was tempted to laugh. She accused me of breaking in because I was the only person with a motive to mess with her stuff. She said I got angry over her reasonable request, and yes, I'm doing a lot of air quotes right now, about covering expenses, and that I decided to get revenge. It was my version of filling a house with toilet paper. I told her I hadn't done anything, and if she believed I had, she was welcome to go to the police. Besides, it was her responsibility to find someone to stay there and take care of the place. If someone broke into her apartment, that's her fault, not mine. But here's the most interesting part. When I told her she was a fool for leaving the apartment empty, she slipped up and revealed that it wasn't empty. And when I asked who had been taking care of it, who should have seen something, there was a long pause before she said it wasn't any of my business and she didn't owe me an explanation. This was getting better by the minute, all thanks to my cousin's hidden plot. I told her I was very upset with her, but as the good person I am, I advised her to go to the police and report that some insects or rodents had invaded her home while she was gone. I also suggested she record their reaction and send me the video. My cousin went completely silent for a moment, then hung up on me. I haven't heard from her since, but my mom said my cousin called my aunt and told her that I had threatened her during our phone conversation. Apparently, my cousin is now saying I'm harassing her and that the family needs to intervene before things get worse. My aunt told her to shut up and said that even with her being in Europe, there's still drama. She told her own daughter she couldn't take it anymore. That's my aunt's version of the "I'm tired boss" meme. Honestly, I'm worried she might actually go to the police and I won't get it recorded. Do you think it would take long for me to join the police academy and start working there before my cousin files the report? The recording would be nice, but I can't count on that. Seeing it live, with the whole station bursting out laughing, would have way more aura. Update 3. When I first posted about my cousin and the whole house-sitting rent fiasco, I thought that was the peak of the drama. I thought, I've got something interesting going on. My life is finally not boring, and I can be one of those OPs who get their moment of fame writing their story. I didn't expect this to turn into Mom with 55 million updates, but I thought at least it would be a good 2 or 3 part saga. This won't become a mythical Reddit story, but hey, it's something. I'll take whatever my entitled cousin throws at me. 2 days after my last update, I got a phone call from an unknown number. I didn't answer the first 10 times, but when they're that persistent, you eventually pick up. You never know if some random person has died and they're calling to tell you. On the other end was a woman who introduced herself as Jess. She explained that she had been staying in my cousin's apartment while my cousin was away. My immediate thought was, wait, what? Either someone was stupid enough to pay my cousin to do her a favor, or my cousin paid her. And if it's the latter, then my brain says, you guys get paid? Sorry, meme moment. Jess told me she had my number because my cousin listed me as her emergency contact on the paperwork she gave her. That sounded weird. My cousin and I hadn't been on good terms since the house-sitting blow-up, yet she still had me as her emergency contact. I thought, oh, this is going to be good. Anyway, Jess was calling because my cousin had been pressuring her for money. Apparently, she hadn't charged Jess anything to stay there while she was gone, but once she came back, she planned to. However, my cousin, in an act of extreme generosity rivaling Mother Teresa, offered to forgive this so-called debt if Jess agreed to say that she had found me in the apartment after vandalizing it. Jess was supposed to say she came back and found me eating her food. Look, if I'm eating your food, I'm not leaving leftovers for the rodents. Jess was a co-worker of my cousin who agreed to house-sit at the last minute for the same reasons I had. But since there wasn't much time to negotiate, my cousin didn't mention that she would have to pay to stay there. So in Jess's mind, it was just a favor. She'd take care of a few plants, and that would be it. But once Jess arrived, she quickly realized she had gotten more than she bargained for. My cousin had over 30 plants scattered throughout the apartment, including several finicky, high-maintenance ones that needed special care. You know, singing to them at night, caressing their leaves, that kind of thing. As you might have read, according to my cousin, I'm apparently a plant care expert. Jess said she spent at least an hour every day just watering, pruning, and fertilizing them. It was way more than the light plant care my cousin had promised. And it wasn't just the plants. My cousin had left an extensive list of rules, pages of them. Jess wasn't allowed to have guests, couldn't use certain dishes or appliances, and had to stick to a strict cleaning schedule. She even had to tend to the balcony garden, which involved carrying buckets of water outside and following another set of detailed instructions. Jess described it less like a house-sitting job and more like being my cousin's unpaid gardener and maid, except she was the one who was supposed to pay her. Despite all this, Jess tried to be respectful and do everything right. But of course, small accidents happened. One plant that was already in bad shape before my cousin left died under her care, despite her best efforts. She accidentally broke a mug, left a drink on the table that caused a faint water ring, and one night forgot to throw out a pizza box right away, which led to a few fruit flies. Pretty minor things, in my opinion. Just the kind of stuff you can easily fix if you're not an entitled Karen. Jess said she planned to replace the mug and maybe even hire someone to fix the table. She wanted to make things right, but instead of giving her the chance, my cousin came back from her trip and immediately confronted her, demanding money. My cousin claimed that the dead plant was worth $90. That plant must have grown money instead of leaves, and nobody told me. She also insisted Jess pay to restore the entire coffee table, completely excessive, and even wanted to charge a $100 cleaning fee for the fruit flies. The total added up to hundreds of dollars, plus, of course, the debt for the privilege of staying in her apartment. When Jess refused, explaining that these were minor issues that didn't justify such costs, my cousin became aggressive, and that's when Jess left. Jess had to block her number because my cousin was harassing her and even went to her workplace to complain until she finally offered to forgive the debt if Jess would blame me instead. I wanted to laugh at all this, like you probably are right now, but Jess sounded genuinely stressed and didn't know what to do. I suggested she go to the police for extortion and harassment, and also report it at work. I didn't know if it was the best idea, but unless my cousin had proof that Jess agreed to pay to stay there, she had nothing to fear. Still, Jess had her doubts. So I told her about my own experience, how my cousin asked me to house sit for free, and then hit me with surprise demands for rent and utilities at the last minute, how she'd been pestering me to pay for damages, and how she basically called me a freeloader. I told her in my case, my cousin stopped bothering me once I blocked her, but since Jess worked with her, it'd be harder, unless she involved her bosses so they could make the right call. But Jess had more to tell. Apparently, during their conversations, my cousin had made negative comments about me to convince her that accusing me was a good idea. She told several lies, including one that I had done this before, but that she had no witnesses and Jess could be her star witness. That's when the light bulb went off in my head. I said, I'm not a lawyer, but this sounds like blackmail, extortion, attempted false accusation, harassment, and who knows what else. I'm sure a lawyer could find a few more. So I asked Jess if she'd be willing to go with me to file a report. I told her the worst case scenario was she'd have to pay for what she actually broke, and if it came to that, I'd cover it myself, but only if she agreed to make the report. She had a few messages from my cousin pressuring her, so there was some evidence. I thought it was a good deal. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. I think she's convinced to do it. Although until we actually go this week to file the report, I can't confirm if the plan will work. But if my cousin keeps pressuring or harassing her to pay or falsely accuse me, I think she'll end up pushing Jess to my side. The good thing is that the rest of the family isn't siding with that crazy cousin, but I really hope we file the report, because even if it doesn't lead to much, at least it'll make her stop bothering us, and she'll finally get what she deserves. Edit. We have filed the report against my cousin. I can't share too much because it's a legal process, and I don't know if it's a good idea to post about it here, but I promise to make future updates unrelated to the legal aspects of the case. It's been a while since I last posted, but reaching 4 updates is much more than I ever thought I would do at the beginning. I expected to make just 1 post, maybe 2 or 3, but never 4. Well, actually 5, because it's 4 updates and 1 original post. Let's start from where I left off before, with Jess doubting whether to file the report or not. She thought my cousin would drop it once she realized Jess didn't want to cooperate with her false accusation. I didn't think the same, but it was up to Jess to make the report for it to have any real impact. She finally did it when my cousin harassed her at work and started bothering her so much that by the end of the day, she called me and said, "Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, we're filing the report." I finally met her in person, and she's one of those sweet girls people like my cousin love to bully. She told me what had happened the day before. My cousin sat at her desk and refused to leave until Jess agreed to do what she wanted. But in the end, Jess told her she'd talk to Human Resources, which she actually did, and I'll tell more about that later. After that, my cousin left her alone. So, we went to the police, filed the report for harassment and blackmail, since my cousin was pressuring Jess to make a false accusation, and everything started going downhill for my cousin. During all that time, she didn't do anything noteworthy that would deserve an update. She cried here and there because I had convinced someone to report her, all because I was supposedly spiteful, mean, or whatever. But everyone around her just said something like, "Well, who's hungry?" It was the same old story. My cousin saying, "You don't know how badly OP treated me," and me laughing while my friends made jokes about it. As for the report, the outcome was pretty much what we expected. We weren't reporting Al Capone, so we weren't expecting a life sentence. Nor did we expect her to make us disappear in the river. In the end, she just got a fine, community service, and the debt she claimed Jess owed her was forgiven. The judge said the damage, in quotes, was something to be expected from someone house-sitting and wasn't a big deal. The cost of replacing a broken mug and fixing the table ring was less than the gas it took to drive to court that day. Oh, and she also got a mark on her record. The judge told my cousin that if she ever did something like this again and ended up back in his courtroom, he'd put her in a cell with bars so thick that no air could pass through. She was lucky it was her first offense and not a very serious one, but it still had consequences. And the best part? More laughs from my family and friends. Some of my friends who read these posts told me to mention that they also had accidents and had to change their underwear from laughing so hard. I'm thinking of writing a book to help people use the bathroom. It's less invasive than taking a pill. As for work, Jess filed a formal complaint against my cousin after she tried to intimidate her the day before we went to the police. The company didn't do much at first because they thought she had just misunderstood things. But after the report and the small trial where my cousin lost, they decided to let her go, in quotes. She wasn't officially fired. Well, technically she was, but they also didn't want her working there anymore. It was the corporate version of, "We don't want any problems." In the end, between paying the lawyer and the apartment being too expensive for her, my cousin moved out when her lease ended. She moved to another part of the city, somewhere a bit more affordable, and that's it. I don't know exactly where, only my aunt does, and I haven't asked. But that explains why she wanted to charge me for house-sitting in the first place. The apartment was too expensive for her. The money for her Europe trip came partly from her divorce settlement and partly from a loan she took. In conclusion, I don't think this story will become one of those legendary Reddit tales, but I've enjoyed it. I was always on the other side of these posts, and now I can die happy having checked this off my list. If I had to write a final reflection, I think my cousin lost it after her divorce. Her marriage must not have been good, and it left her a little unhinged. But she could have gone to therapy or something. She pushed away everyone who cared about her, but sometimes that's just how life goes. Edit. No, I never got a gift from her, but honestly, I wouldn't have wanted to receive a vase and end up trying to eat it or lose sleep because my brain thinks it's ticking.